Hello friends, near and far, dear to my heart. I'm Victoria with Aligned Soul Tarot, and welcome to this full moon in Aquarius collective reading. The pulse between worlds, as I'd like to call this reading. There is a fine and holy art to connecting with the heart, okay, Leo. Not just the soft, romanticized center of love, but the pulsing, raw, electric organ of life itself. The place where blood meets memory, where longing meets rage, where grief has a rhythm all its own. And some of those chambers of the heart are open and tender. Others, as I like to say, are boarded up with ancestral caution tape, ancestral karma that we're feeling. And in Leo season, under this blazing sun, we are called, not gently, to crack those chambers open, to feel the beats we've numbed out. On a collective and also a personal level, right? Aquarius collective, Leo personal, we're releasing what is stagnant to let the blood course through our veins again. This year's Lion Gate is not just a portal, but a reckoning. Full moon in Aquarius, right? August 8th, and it reaches peak at midnight of August 9th at 16 degrees, and it opposes Leo sun at also 16 degrees. And of course, Mercury retrograde in Leo, illuminating the paradox we're all swimming in. The personal versus the collective. The ego versus the ether. The pulse of individuality in a world on fire. There's something almost fated about the number 16, a number of reckoning and revelation. In Tarot, it's the Tower, sudden clarity, right? The falling away of illusions. And in numerology, 1 and 6 combine the will to lead, 1 with the call to nurture and serve, 6 yielding 7 when added, the number of spiritual awakening, inner wisdom, and divine timing. And here we are, caught in the axis of Leo and Aquarius at 16 degrees, one ruled by the heart, the other by the hive, right? And the Sabian symbol of the Leo sun, 16 degrees, is sunshine just after the storm. A radiant return. The heart cracks open after surviving the storm, the tower, and the sun filters back in. It's the courage to feel joy again, the strength to show your true face even after life has tried to wash it clean. It speaks to the resilient soul that no matter how wild, right, the inner weather might be, the storm will pass and the light will return. And on the other hand, again, the Aquarius full moon at 16 degrees is a big businessman at his desk, okay? Detached, visionary, calculating from above. This symbol reflects the mind's attempts, right, air, Aquarius, to structure the chaos, to create systems from spirit, organization from ether. It's the collective brain trying to solve problems that require both data and solution. It's a very solution-based way of thinking. And this is the part of us that stands back and says, how do we use this lightning, Aquarius? What do we build from this, right? Together, this opposition speaks to the dance between the head and the heart. Between presence and planning, between raw emotion and refined purpose. And Leo wants to shine from the chest, right? Expressive, generous, vivid. And Aquarius steps back and looks at the architecture of belonging, wondering how to distribute the light to the many, how to not fit in one box, right? And in this opposition that we're feeling, they both challenge each other, right? To feel seen, feel it, be seen, take up space. But Aquarius says, don't forget the mission. The collective needs the blueprint. And that's what we are mastering at this time. And the number 16 isn't an easy one, right? We're seeing this reflected at this time globally. It often asks for a fall before the rise. But this axis of Leo and Aquarius reminds us sometimes the most radical thing you can do is feel. And sometimes the most healing thing you can do is to create structure in your life, coping skills. This full moon is a mirror. One side reflects sunlight on your skin, the other the scaffolding of your soul's purpose. What are you here to do? The full moon in Aquarius also is speaking very loudly to the great wave, as I've been calling it, of Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius is now at 2 degrees, hovering like a shadow behind this moon. And it got me thinking about, the rise of technology, right? We stand at a crucial threshold, a double-edged sword that both illuminates and disconnects. On one hand, it sparks innovation, catalyzes revolutions, and gives voices to the voiceless. And on the other, it threatens the sacred connection between the head and the heart, Leo and Aquarius. Our intellect and our intuition, urgency and integration. And like I said, Aquarius, lightning ruled by Uranus, the planet of rebellion and breakthrough, governs this technological tide. But even again, lightning has its shadow, much like any of the signs. And what surges in a flash can also destroy in an instant. Air moves freely, yes, but without grounding, it can scatter, untethered, and impulsive. Aquarius is not just the futurism and invention, right? It's beautiful that it is that, but it also is the water bearer, a symbol of service to humanity, pouring knowledge back into the collective. And yet we must ask, what are we pouring? Are we nourishing the collective soul, or are we numbing it? The danger is not only in the tools themselves, but in how quickly we grasp for those extremes, right? I talk about this a lot. We are humans of extremes. And I've observed this time and again. We often choose acceleration over integration, the shortcut before the slow burn, the rise before the reckoning. And when progress is held in the hands of a small, powerful few, the space for ethical evolution becomes very narrow. And aren't we seeing that right now? And here's where our agency lies. It is within our communities, our daily choices and rhythms, the number 6, right, in the 16, being of service, our willingness to slow down and feel, to remember the rhythm of the earth and the integrity of cause and effect, that we reclaim our humanity. This is how we balance the scales, not by rejecting progress, but by infusing it with empathy, by remembering that advancement without awareness is just another form of karmic debt that we are trying to trudge ourselves out of with this Pisces North Node. And Leo season reminds us that real leadership begins in the heart. It asks us to shine, not just for the sake of being seen, but to light the way for others as well, to take personal accountability for how we show up in our relationship, our creations, our consumption, and our convictions. We are not just navigating progress, we are also confronting its consequences. And from that place, to create something worth remembering. And again, Leo reminds us, we are still here, still beating, still creating from our heart. Mercury retrograde in Leo, again at 4 degrees until August 11th. We are rewriting that narrative to speak from the heart, not for validation, but to remember that our words do shape our reality. Even in regression, there is revelation. Even in pause, there is power. This is not merely your grief. It is ours, a collective heartache that spans lifetimes. Underneath the surface of our individual struggles, Pluto in Aquarius is digging up the bones of forgotten wars, revolutions, failed systems, and ancestral cries for change. And can't forget, right, in the background, a trio of Aries retrograde fans, the flames of this. You know, we have Neptune retrograde at 1 degrees Aries, also Saturn retrograde at 1 degrees Aries, and we will speak upon those Sabian symbols in the book and in the reading. Also, Chiron retrograde in Aries at 27 degrees, the wounds of self-assertion. Can you truly be seen? Can I fully feel without being too much? Okay. And the 27th degree of these retrogrades, I'll talk more about it, but it's a lost opportunity regained in the imagination. This is a deeply emotional portal, an invitation to recover what we thought was too far gone, not by only logic, but again, from the beating of our very hearts. Okay? And another thing I want to mention, Aquarius is often linked to Saturn, okay? And it teaches us not just about innovation, but about, again, the responsibility to the future, okay? And what's fascinating is that these retrogrades, right, all these Aries retrogrades won't really reach full directness until Capricorn season, okay? Also Saturn, very Saturnian times, when the earth catches up with what fire and air have stirred up. So let's not rush to conclusions. Let's sit in the echo chamber of our hearts a little longer. Let that beat hurt a little, okay? Let it awaken you. Because, let's be honest, to be alive right now is to ride the edge of too much and not enough. To grieve what's lost while still reaching for what could be. To open the heart when it's easier to shut down, right, at times. So let's dive deeper into this mirror. What are you willing to face, okay? So that you might finally move forward, not only for yourself, but for humanity. Let's get into this collective reading. Hello friends, welcome to this collective reading. We are going to dive right in here. As always, take what resonates, leave the rest. This is a supportive collective reading. If you want a private reading to dive deeper into your birth chart, or to feel into any sort of questions that you might be wanting some answers or advice on, right? Just know that with Tarot, truly, it's a guide back to self. I am merely a vessel to help you and assist you to come up with those answers for yourself, okay? And we are being called into that more, and there's a reason why I have stepped away for other reasons besides this, which I'll say is the main mission of me doing Tarot and speaking on these things that I love is to help guide you back to self. It is not for me to solve these riddles for you, but for you to piece it together in a way that feels right for yourself. So again, if you need any further guidance, I am here. You can find my email below. But let's get into this, okay? Let's talk about this. I do miss you all. It has been busy here. I myself have been processing a lot of grief on top of the collective grief and the things that are happening around the world that we all just can't seem to turn a blind eye away from, and that's not the point, right? How can we move through this grief and still face another day? You know, I lost my soulmate pet in July, and man, it really showed me what unconditional love truly feels like. And the experience of that love is worth every ounce of that grief and that sadness and anger that I felt when I had to let him go. So no, it wasn't For some, I would say it wasn't something I would ever regret or I wouldn't ever do again, right? It's reminding me of some people when they lose someone, whether it's a pet or a person, especially a pet. They're like, I never want to do that again. I never want to have a pet again because I don't want to feel that way again. And I understand that. I can empathize with people that go through that, and rightfully so. But also, I would like you to feel more into your heart space and say, hey, what an opportunity to feel that level of love for something else outside of yourself, and how our pets and the people around us are mere reflections, right? That mirror that we were talking about in the intro of the capacity that we truly have to love, to empathize, to have compassion for something in life itself. It is a beautiful gift. And yes, it might feel like a double-edged sword to really go that deeply and to love something so deeply. It's reminding me of that Toni Morrison quote that I revealed to you all several moon readings ago. Toni Morrison. I will link that video below. She said it best. Okay, so let's see here. Let's dive right into this reading for all of you. Ancestors, angels, benevolent beings that wish to provide clarity during this portal, this reckoning of the head and the heart, the self versus the other. How can we deepen our heart, this heart space? How can we allow for flow, releasing stagnation, moving forward with purpose, love, and freedom for all walks of life? Another thing that I've been seeing a lot with other astrology readers and tarot readers, using your platform is such a important part of being on, something public like this. And, it all does start with self. So again, these readings, I'm not here to hand you the answers, but hopefully I can help you understand your soul's mission and have a better sense of self so that you can show up in the world with an open heart. All right, let's see. What do we have for the collective at this time? Ancestors, angels, and guides. What advice can I give the collective at this time for this full moon in Aquarius? Full moon in Aquarius. What is the guidance around this full moon in Aquarius? Lots of pentacle energy here. We have the Two of Pentacles that came out in the beginning, the King of Coins, the Ace of Coins in reverse, and the Page of Coins. Earthly matters here, yes? Lots of earthly matters at stake. The earth itself is crying, it's very awake. As most of you know, the activity that's happening around the world, and I talked about this before the start of 2025, the Great Wave. And we're going to be riding these waves of not only Pluto and Aquarius, but many other astrological themes and just the intuitive advice that I've been getting. And again, it's how do we recover from those waves while still standing, right? I'm giving the song, I'm Still Standing. And not in a prideful way, but there is a lot around sustainability that I've been talking to you about. And with this practical energy, it can be very challenging when we are up against survival mode. When you think of Pentacle, Earth, right? The five senses, this physical flesh, this body, there is a lot of power that dictates over our free will. And although we might feel like we are free will sovereign beings, which we are, don't forget that, we do have to kind of, again, rationalize and find a way through, right? Find a way through to connection without allowing the powers that be to control us. And it can be very challenging when, we need to have a home, or we need to feed others, take care of others and ourselves, this physical, earthly presence of the Pentacle energy. It's also about what do we have to offer? What can I truly offer? Page of Pentacles. And trying to stay more open with the Two of Cups to what you can actually give. And it can start small and build its course to the King of Pentacles, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. This is also connecting in with, again, earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. This is also highlighting the Virgo South Node, past, our karma, okay? The karmic debt, cause and effect that we're feeling with a lot of the intensity and changes that we're feeling in almost all areas of life. Especially the earth itself is waking up. She's a bit rageful, let's just say that. And some might say, oh, this is just natural. Very much is, but how do you play a role in it? How does humanity play a role in the evolution of Earth? Okay, because our choices as humans who live on this planet, it directly coincides. We are nature. We are a part of the Earth. It is all interconnected. So how could it not play a role in this natural flow, as you would say, of the way things are playing out? We can't bypass these things, but we do also have to stay rooted in what is practical for ourselves so that we can sustain. Again, Pentacle energy, sustainability. What can I give? What can I give? You know, that's a big thing that's playing out in these cards here. Also, knowing how to reject offers with the Two of Pentacles, Ace of Coins in reverse, that feel flawed, skewed, based on ego, based on an extreme. Again, we are humans of extremes. And I still can't understand fully why, you know. It's kind of like, again, a toddler that's just like, oh, I gotta push my extremes to understand what yes and no truly means. And sadly, there are people that operate as toddlers as an adult, you know, and we're seeing that in the systems and politics and the structures that have been set up, is pushing the extremes. And is it fruitful? No. Is it fruitful maybe for one person? Yes, right? This person standing solo. But we have to think about Two of Pentacles, both sides of the coin here. This is what I'm gathering, especially with the Two of Cups, which is about harmony, relationship, love, admiration for another, cooperation, right? Community. And there is a lack of judgment at this time. A lack of judgment with the Judgment card and the Hermit in reverse. It's a Hermit year as well. And we are right at that midpoint, right? We're actually kind of beyond it. We're stepping into the 8th month of the year, right before eclipses. Stay tuned for my September reading. I will be doing an eclipse reading for all of you. So it's saying that we have to have better judgment over, again, the physical 3D earthly world, and also this more intuitive interconnectedness, cause and effect, right? The imprint, the footprint that we leave behind, not only for ourselves, but all the rest to come, okay? We have to stand guard. We have to have boundaries. 7 of Wands, Leo energy. Standing up for our convictions, not allowing ourselves to be swayed so heavily by earthly material things. And finding that grace and balance, you know, because it can be very easy to get stuck in survival mode. You know, we are being bombarded, you know, again, technology, and use your discernment. I know I've been stepping away from YouTube and all my social media platforms and utilizing them as necessary, because our energy, I spoke about this in another reading as well, is currency, pentacle, right? Where your focus lies, where your attention lies, is where the growth truly is. So what are you focusing on, and how are you being able to detach a bit from not the earthly reality, right? And this physical flesh, right? This heart, the bones, the blood, the matter that makes us physical and dense, the density of this experience. But again, there's that balance, Two of Pentacles, of both the ethereal, more watery, Two of Cups energy, and this more practical, grounded energy. You know, you can go to either end of the extreme. Let's pull from a different deck here. Creativity Oracle for this Aquarius full moon. Resistance. Understanding why you resist what you have to do is a crucial part of the creative process. There could be a resistance. It's too much. I can't take this physical experience. I can't take living on Earth. Trust me, I can understand that. Just like, you know, when I lost my cat last month, my soulmate, my baby, it felt like a lot. It felt like, this is too much. How can I grapple with this loss? You know, and it's seeing it reflected almost everywhere in the world. And this resistance to fight against it, you know, the death process itself. Understanding why you resist what you have to do is a crucial part of the creative process. So it is a part of the process to grieve and to lose and to see loss. But we are losing touch, I would say, not necessarily the people that are watching this reading, but if you're trying to understand, which most of you probably already do, that the masculine and feminine archetypes amongst us, there is an imbalance and there is a resistance to change that. And how can we make that change for ourselves? How can we still stay in our bodies within this earthly existence and see the beauty that's also reflected around us without becoming too pessimistic or jaded, right? Or resistant. Again, the heart closing off. I had to realize yet again, the story of my cat is that I had such a great opportunity to love him and to give him life and to support him, and he supported me too. And that was a beautiful gift in itself, even with the loss, even with the pain and the anger that came alongside that. Nature. Go out in nature as much as you can, for its pure creativity can teach you everything you need to know. Yeah, and that fear in the background. If you want to be free of fears and phobias, then you have to understand why they exist and make peace with them. Yes, the fear to open up, the fear of taking up too much space, the fear of using your voice because of the repercussions. There's a lot of fear mongering, okay? And again, we as individuals are being called into a leadership role, whatever capacity that is, and that looks unique for all of you, and how you are showing up for yourself and for others. And enjoying the bliss of nature. It's such a great way to balance out the chaos that surrounds us at this time, especially with technology. Okay, let's see. What are we going to pull from here? Let's pull from this deck here. Let's get some wisdom and advice for this full moon in Aquarius. Full moon in Aquarius. Sympathetic joy. To take delight in other people's happiness is to have a passionate residence of all life. Beautiful. Sympathetic joy. Having sympathy. Seeking solace. Going out in nature. Open-mindedness. When we release our prejudices and judgments, we enter a deep, abiding peace. Yeah, the Judgment card in reverse. It can also talk with the Judgment in reverse, and the Hermit is like a recollection of the past judgment on us. Again, Pluto in Aquarius is definitely bringing up a lot of past ancestral karma, again, tied with the Pisces North Node, digging up the trenches of this karmic muck that we all have to face if we are to live on this earthly plane together. Again, the sky is very much still a part of this existence, it's a mirror, right? When you think of the ocean, the deep ocean, or the deep space, it's all merely a reflection of this earthly experience as well. And it's also a reminder, it's a visual reminder that we get to look up at the stars at night, and we get to go dive deep into the oceans and enjoy the beauty of nature, and also understand the chaos amongst nature itself as well. And how most indigenous cultures understood that balance. They understood the chaos of nature, and they worked with it. They didn't fight upstream. They didn't try to conquer and divide. There is a lot of that in history. But when we think of, tracing back our steps to our roots, to indigenous practices, it was very much in flow and in tandem with nature. And it did seem to serve them fairly well. The way that they honored the land, the way that they gave back to the land. And not to say that every single human, right, from past times was operating from that, because evil has been amongst us, much like good, right? The mirror, the reflection of both. I wanted to speak on Chiron retrograde, because I feel like Chiron, of course, if you've been with me, I do have a Chiron series, and you can find that below. I am still working on getting through that series. I've been pacing myself and taking the time to really gather my thoughts and to sit with myself and my own grief. But Chiron in your chart is so important, especially during Chiron retrograde, amongst Saturn and Neptune. I'll sit in there with Aries, okay? Aries, 27 degrees of Chiron. Through imagination, a lost opportunity is regained. Revision of attitude and inner revaluation. The second stage of a fivefold sequence of phases always reveals a contrast to the first, but not necessarily in opposition. This symbol makes it clear that the mind has become overstimulated and obsessed by all it appears to be able to accomplish, and some new realm of experience may easily fail. The disciple fails in his test, or at least it seems to him that he has failed. Actually, the failure may have been meant by his guru to be a challenge to the emergence of a new capacity. Generally speaking, this capacity is what one calls creative imagination. The mind must first imagine that which he will be, then be able sooner or later to actually experience it, like the act of manifestation. Reframing our thoughts during Mercury retrograde. That negative self-talk, right? Making your inner critic your inner coach. At this stage, it may be difficult to distinguish success from failure. Nothing may fail like success, people say. What counts is the development of undaunted faith in the pursuit of one's ideals. So even if it is daunting, again, this earthly kind of energy that's coming up here, this physical, the presence, the physicality of being here in this body, it can feel like we're failing. It can feel like, we're seeing all these other people failing in the world, and why is this happening, and why is that happening? And again, we also have to reflect it back into our hearts. How can I help myself and therefore help others in whatever way that possibly can be, without feeling like a failure and that I'm not doing enough, right? Revision of attitude, the negative self-talk, Virgo South Node, and this inner reevaluation period of retrograde season. We got magnetism here as the card that I pulled. So again, like attracts like. That inner critic, if it's loud, which again, we all have moments when it really is. Right? We're humans. No one's perfect here. This is just an opportunity for growth, right? No judgment. We magnetize, right? Like attracts like. We magnetize those things, right? If we keep telling ourselves, oh, this is failing, this sucks, this, that, and the other, yeah, it very well is. But again, what are we doing? What are we going to do on an interpersonal level, right? A micro level, to take accountability for what we're witnessing in the world. We see people boycotting. We see people speaking up. Again, Mercury in Leo, retrograde. Using their platform, talking to their friends, their family, taking time out for nature, having better coping skills, Again, that number 6 is so strong, of the Hermit as well. Virgo energy. How can I be of service? It all starts with you though, right? Purifying, detoxing, ritual, routine. What are you ingesting? So that you may magnetize, right, what you truly are desiring. Let's also read here about Aquarius 16 degrees. We talked about it earlier, and look what card I pulled. Starseed, very much Aquarian, right? Galactic. Aquarius is electricity, lightning, Uranus energy. It's very much this pulse, this connection again to the collective. What is feeding this starseed? Right? It's almost like the feeding, the umbilical cord. Right? When we are all born, we are being fed and nurtured from our mothers. And there can be also, I think it's called in vitro, like karma. I myself have been working through that in EMDR, and it can be very challenging to feel into those spaces because most of us can't recollect memories beyond 3 years old. But, you know, it does work for me through meditation, again, working with my ancestors, calling upon them, and understanding that ancestral karma that has been passed down via the mother, right? The connection. And how can I step away from that and kind of break free from that umbilical cord that gets cut naturally? And understanding that we are all still supported, whether you are connected to your mother or you're not, right? Whatever sort of connection that is. We are all still one here, and there is community and support. It says the ability to organize the many aspects of an enterprise involving a large group of human beings. So this starseed energy, there's a lot of people that are being woken up, shaken awake. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance with people that have stood on values and beliefs that are no longer suiting them. On whatever side of the coin you're on, left, right, up, down, okay? You know, people that once believed that things were okay, or their, you know, perceived idea of what is okay, or maybe now seeing, oh wow, that really isn't okay. Maybe they're choosing to turn a blind eye and be really stubborn and fixed, right, and ego-driven. We cannot change everyone, right? We cannot be everything for everyone, but we can connect with like-minded people here, people that understand this interconnectedness, this starseed energy. This 16 degrees of Aquarius introduces the concept of management, which is basic at this period of the cyclical life process which the zodiac symbolizes, yet which needs to be totally reevaluated if mankind is to actualize the spiritual potentials implied in the evolutionary transformation just ahead. Organization should be the key word rather than mere organization, for humanity now can and should realize that is indeed an organism. So rise up, starseeds, whatever you identify as. You know, starseed, it can be a very trendy thing to say, and you know, no shame to that, but really it's just an understanding that we are nature. We are the stars. We are the trees. We are the air. We are the deep, deep, dark soil. We are. Remember that. Let's get a closing message for you all. And the more that people can come to understand this, the more you can empathize with all walks of life, Aquarius. Let's see, what is the guidance for this full moon in Aquarius at this time? What is the guidance here, the closing message for my viewers? Aries, full moon in Aries. So full moon in Aries here. We will have I don't know if it's a new or full moon in Libra season, which is Aries opposite. Again, all this retrograde energy. There is a fiery climax approaching at this time, and we all feel that. Okay, this portal is a reckoning, like I said. There is a fiery climax, meaning there has to be a break. There already has been many breaks, many great waves, as I've been saying. Energy is gaining momentum, yeah. So I think, breaking free from what's happening with the world at large, it's like we are all being called. Spirit's saying it's time to step up, step out in any way that you can. Again, we are all being called into leadership in many different roles and forms. There's many ways to step into this leadership of Aries energy. And slowly but surely, this energy is gaining momentum. And in all of your lives, you are going to be feeling pushed, right, to the edge. Lots of karmic lessons at this time on a micro and a macro level. Are you going to go with the flow of nature? Are you going to fight upstream? There's a choice here, but this climax and this fiery energy is still going to be gaining momentum, even with a retrograde, right? With any retrograde, again, Aries energy, Aries, Neptune, Saturn, and Chiron. Okay, although it is retrograde, what I believe with a retrograde, again, it's not really moving away. It's actually closer to the Earth, so that's why it feels more intense. With the retrograde for any planet, the energy of that planet ramps up, okay? Much like Mercury retrograde, right? It's in closer proximity to the Earth. So we feel it, okay? Fiery climax approaches. I feel like I want to give you one more closing message here. I want to give you some animal medicine. What is the animal medicine for this full moon in Aquarius? What is the animal medicine? Cheetah. Wow, lots of fiery energy here. Let's read about this. So when I think about this fiery energy, again, with that Earth Pentacle energy, we do have to ground ourselves. We do have to find our footing. We do have to think of solutions for everyone, not just for ourselves. And in that process, right, if multiple people can start to think about those solutions and again come together with kind of this group mindset, okay, how is this going to affect others, right? How are my words and my actions going to affect others? And even when it does, right, even when I might be rushing things a bit too fast, this fiery energy, this climax, it's also saying steady as you go, right? The turtle and the hare, the story of the turtle and the hare. We do have to gain momentum. We do have to take action. But again, from the head and the heart, that balance is being called. Let's see the cheetah. It's the solar force. This is very much Leo, okay? Leo energy. Achievement. The cheetah is the epitome of the solar forces at work. The sun doesn't shine onto the cheetah. It shines from inside this great creature. It shines from the heart, the soul of our very being, right? It's not always external, right? We can see what's going on around us, but again, how can we trace it back to our heart? And it expands outward to brighten the universe. So again, if we are coming from a very fear-based thinking, again, resistance, we saw the card of resistance and fear, and allowing those waves to just topple us over and over again, and no self-care, no purpose, no structure, no form, we are merely a victim of life. So regain that sense of autonomy and say, enough. I actually do have control. Instead of saying, for instance, for me, I'll be like, oh, this is so hard. This is so challenging. I try to refrain my words, living language of, yes, although this is challenging, what is this teaching me? What can I do right now to take care of myself so that I can feel a bit better, so I can move forward, right, and take action on things that are meant for me? The energy within a cheetah personality is palpable to others, and they naturally attract an audience to bear witness to their remarkable achievements. Purpose and passion are the best fuel for the cheetah's forward momentum. So if you're lacking in those areas, reconnect to the why before you start running. Exactly. Reconnect to the why. Reconnect to the why. Why do you feel astray? Because we all will at times. You know, the pressure is real. We're in a pressure cooker, right? It says, when in balance, you can achieve anything. Boundless energy. When out of balance, impatient, competitive mindsets. Yeah, Aries energy is teaching us that, especially with this retrograde energy. Again, the negative and the positive of that sign and that planet. To bring into balance, reconnect to purpose. Yes. Very much Aquarius and Leo. I hope that you can reconnect to your purpose. And again, I am here to support you along your very unique journey. Sending my love to all of you. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.